Do you know the crazy secret? Fear doesn't start when they see your power. It starts the moment they realize their entire circle, their chants, their alliances, their hidden rituals couldn't crack one soul standing calm in the middle of chaos. That's when their heartbeat changes. That's when they finally understand what kind of enemy they picked. Because you weren't a target, you were a test, and every witch who touched your name just failed it. They thought darkness gave them authority. They thought secrecy gave them safety. But what they didn't calculate was what happens when light stops defending and starts dominating. You didn't fight their rituals with spells. You fought them with stillness. You didn't argue. You existed. An existence at that level shakes foundations built on illusion. They were never scared of your strength. They were terrified of your calm. Calmness in the presence of hostility is the most violent form of confidence. It tells the enemy, you've already lost. Every time you stayed silent while they conspired, the energy tilted in your favor. Every time they gathered in clusters to summon against you, their own vibrations turned on each other. Because darkness can't cooperate without corruption, they tried to merge fear into unity, but fear only bonds temporarily. It rots from within, and you were the catalyst that exposed it. Imagine this, a table full of witches, their eyes flickering in candlelight, hands trembling while they pretend it's focus. They whisper, they chant, they promise each other power, but none of them notice the flame bending away from the circle, leaning toward the direction of your name. That's not coincidence, that's consequence. Every energy field recognizes hierarchy, and your energy outranked theirs before the war even began. They never faced a soul that survived hell without losing heart. That's what they don't understand. Survival is a language darkness can't interpret. You speak in endurance. They respond in confusion. It started subtle. A few of them couldn't sleep. Others started losing focus. Their rituals backfired. Their dreams twisted into nightmares where your face stood unmoved in the smoke. That's when fear rooted itself in their system. Not the fear of being exposed, but the fear of being irrelevant. Because your presence made their power obsolete. Every spell they threw disintegrated mid-air. Not because you blocked it, but because alignment rejects interference. And alignment is the deadliest armor ever forged. You were never trained in their ways, yet you mastered the battlefield they invented. You walked into environments drenched in manipulation and left with peace intact. You sat at tables of deceit and somehow left them confessing truths they swore to hide. That's not luck, that's rank. You carry spiritual clearance they can't counterfeit. They mimic rituals to feel divine. You breathe, and divinity responds. That's why they whisper your name differently now, half hatred, half horror. They don't know whether to curse you or study you. Fear spread among them like infection. One by one, they began turning on each other, asking who failed, who leaked, who lost control of the circle. But there was no traitor, only truth. You were the unseen variable rewriting their outcome. Their instruments couldn't measure it, their books couldn't define it, and their spirits couldn't compete with it. You had crossed into mastery without even knowing it. When power becomes natural, effort looks demonic to those who fake it. They thought endurance was weakness. They thought patience meant submission. But when patience carries power, it turns into precision. You didn't rush revenge. You let time do it for you. You let their own vibrations collect evidence. And now every one of them walks around carrying the proof of what they did, trembling, haunted, paranoid. They can't sleep because every silence sounds like you're calm. They can't gather because every circle feels cursed. Their downfall isn't dramatic, it's daily. Regret eats slowly when you've wronged someone untouchable. This is the psychology of fear. The brain collapses when faced with unpredictability. You became unpredictable by mastering peace. They can't predict a soul that no longer reacts. That's why their power short-circuited. Witches need reaction the way fire needs oxygen. You starved them of it. You turned indifference into an execution. They came for chaos, but you gave them reflection. And reflection is poison to the manipulative. When they looked at you, they didn't see prey. They saw a mirror that showed them what they really were. Let's call this what it is, a failed coup against destiny. They gathered thinking numbers would outweigh purpose, but numbers crumble under conviction. One aligned soul holds more voltage than 1,000 pretending. And you weren't just aligned, you were chosen for precision warfare, the kind that doesn't swing weapons, but shifts worlds. That's why the air feels different when you walk in. That's why they stutter when they mention you. They sense something ancient riding within your frequency. They sense judgment wearing human skin. They studied your routine, your patterns, your weaknesses. They thought predictability meant vulnerability. But you had already evolved beyond rhythm. You operate from instinct now, not emotion. That's why their timing always missed. Every spell requires timing. Every manipulation relies on expectation. But your unpredictability dismantled their calculations. They fired arrows at where you used to stand, and by the time they launched, you'd already transformed. That's divine warfare, the art of being everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Here's what cracked their core. Your peace looked supernatural. People can understand rage, but they can't comprehend calm that refuses to break. They watched you lose everything and still speak life. They saw you walk through betrayal and come out glowing. That's when panic began to spread through their ranks. Because if they couldn't break you at your lowest, they'd never be able to touch you at your peak. You became their worst-case scenario, proof that resilience is divine technology. You want to know what really destroyed them? It wasn't your comeback. It was your consistency. Anyone can rise once. Few can remain untouchable forever. They expected you to react for closure. You gave them endurance for eternity. Every sunrise they wake up to is a reminder that their curses didn't work. Every success you achieve is a sermon they can't unhear. They don't just remember you, they relive you. Your name became their echo chamber, looping endlessly inside the hollow space where their confidence used to be. Imagine their fear now. A coven built to intimidate, reduced to whispers and paranoia, the leader doubting her own intuition, the followers turning on one another. Every night, the sound of your calm footsteps echoes in their heads. They know they summoned something they can't control, because you can't bind what's already been purified by pain. You can't curse what survived crucifixion and came back with a crown. That's why your silence now feels louder than thunder. You didn't just outlast them, you outranked them. And authority isn't earned through titles, it's earned through transformation. Every betrayal you endured upgraded your clearance. Every sleepless night rewired your discernment. Every scar became a seal. They study books, you became one. And that terrifies them, because you carry revelation they can't plagiarize. They deal in imitation. You exist in origin. They thought victory was measured by who cast first. But real power moves after observation. You watched, you waited, and then you simply continued living. That continuation destroyed them, because darkness feeds on disruption. The moment you refused to play, the game collapsed. Their energy became static, their rituals turned meaningless, and their alliances started fracturing. That's the paradox. They united to destroy you, but unity itself was the spell that doomed them. Now look at them. Tired eyes, shaken voices, avoiding mirrors because every reflection reminds them of failure. They try to pretend they've moved on, but their aura tells the truth. Fragmented, fatigued, fading. You are the unfinished chapter in their story that keeps rewriting itself. And no matter how much sage they burn, they can't cleanse the evidence. Fear isn't an emotion to them anymore. It's an atmosphere, and your name controls the weather. You've become the cautionary tale whispered in their meetings. You are the example mentors use to warn new recruits. Don't go after that one. You are the legend that lives in their nightmares. And yet you never retaliated. That's the cruelest mercy. They know the punishment isn't over because you haven't even spoken yet. What happens when you finally decide to? That question alone keeps them awake. You turned every loss into legislation. Every heartbreak became law. Now the universe itself enforces what you embody. Harm you, and chaos rebounds. Bless you, and blessings multiply. You've become an equation they can't solve because the variable is divine favor. That's the true terror. You didn't just survive spiritual warfare. You rewrote its rules. And now, their gatherings have changed tone. The laughter's gone, the confidence replaced by paranoia. They triple-check every candle, every symbol, every name, because deep down, they know every move is being watched, not by you, but by consequence. You left that battlefield untouched, and the field itself turned sacred. They can't return without reliving defeat. That's the invisible fence surrounding your destiny. This is where it gets poetic. Their downfall was never cinematic. It was slow erosion. Their power didn't explode. It evaporated. Every whisper against you carried a fragment of their own soul away. Every attempt to hex you stripped them of stability, until one day there was nothing left to send. That's when they realized the war was over, and you had never even stepped onto their battlefield. You fought through faith, through stillness, through a refusal to match darkness on its level. And that refusal was nuclear. The universe keeps records. It knows who tried to play God and who actually served purpose. It knows who manipulated energy for control and who mastered it through surrender. That's why you're ascending now. Every victory you live publicly is judgment written privately on their walls. They can't escape it because it isn't punishment. It's balance, and balance never negotiates. So if you've ever wondered why they look over their shoulders when your name comes up, it's because fear doesn't end when the battle ends. Fear lingers when the enemy knows the war might restart at any time. And this time, you won't even have to move. The air will do it for you. That's divine authority. It fights while you rest. And now the world is catching on. They see it too. The unexplainable confidence, the impossible recoveries, the glow that doesn't fade. People sense what those witches already learned the hard way. You're not just protected, you're positioned. You didn't win because you were stronger. You won because you were aligned. Alignment makes effort irrelevant. That's the part their pride could never compute. So here's the truth they'll never admit, but always feel. One soul in rank with truth will always outlast 1,000 pretending. You were that soul. You are that rank. And from this point on, every time they gather, The memory of your unbreakable calm will be sitting among them like an uninvited guest, reminding them of the night they lost everything to someone who never even raised a hand. Because you are the one-man army they'll never decode, the silent commander who conquered a gang of witches without lifting a sword. And now, the revelation begins. They've been trying to explain your victory using logic that doesn't exist in their world. They keep asking each other, how did one person dismantle what took years to build? They replay their rituals like surveillance footage, looking for the moment they lost control. But the answer doesn't live in their chants or in their books. It lives in vibration, in discipline, in authority. You didn't defeat them by force. You rewired the frequency they depended on. Their energy operated on manipulation. Yours operated on mastery. And when mastery enters a room, manipulation loses oxygen. That's the first revelation. They weren't fighting a person. They were fighting a frequency that outranked theirs. Every witch depends on influence, control, deception, emotional currency. That's their economy. But you changed the exchange rate. You removed your attention. You detached your reaction. And when you detached, their entire system crashed. Because manipulation only functions when someone plays the role of the controlled. Once you stepped out of that agreement, their spells lost gravity. That's the secret they can't speak of in their meetings, that you won by refusing to participate. The entire battle was energetic, and you didn't even flinch. The second revelation is harder for them to digest. Their darkness needed your light to exist. Like a parasite that only survives inside a living host, their energy depended on proximity to your spirit. They needed to feed off your focus, your kindness, your empathy. That's why they obsessed. That's why they circled. That's why they formed alliances. Because one-on-one, they couldn't handle the mirror you held up to their weakness. They thought unity could hide inadequacy, but the more they gathered, the clearer it became. They weren't united. They were addicted. Addicted to your presence. Addicted to your reaction. Addicted to the chaos you refused to provide. And the day you walked away, their addiction turned to withdrawal. That's why they're trembling now. That's why they whisper your name like it's taboo. You didn't just escape, you unplugged their source. The third revelation, your stillness is an active weapon. They thought peace was passive, something harmless, something they could disrupt. But peace, held in alignment, becomes pressure. Every time they targeted you, your calm pushed back. It was like punching water. It absorbed the hit and returned impact tenfold. You didn't have to curse them. Consequence did it for you. The universe doesn't defend with lightning bolts or theatrics. It defends them with law. Every vibration returns to sender. And because you stayed still, you became the mirror of their own intent. That's why they see shadows now. That's why their nights are louder than their days. You didn't attack them. They attacked themselves through you. Understand how terrifying that realization is for them. They studied rituals that promised dominance, memorized chants to manipulate emotion, practiced energy theft for decades. And yet one aligned soul made all that work vanish in a single cycle of breath. That's not supposed to be possible in their doctrine. You shattered their theology. You proved that purity is power. And purity isn't about perfection, it's about clarity. They used confusion as currency, but you became the economy of clarity. Every time you told the truth, it short-circuited their illusion. Every time you forgave, it destroyed their leverage. Every time you moved on, it dismantled their chains. You became the living contradiction to their entire belief system. That's why they panic when you smile. Your joy is blasphemy to their religion of control. The fourth revelation: they never saw the real battlefield. They thought it was spiritual warfare, light against dark, curse against prayer. But that was the distraction. The real war was psychological. They wanted your belief. They wanted you to doubt yourself. Because once self-doubt takes root, you start casting your own curses. But you didn't give them that victory. You learned that self-belief is the most forbidden spell in existence. The moment you believed again, every hex evaporated. That's why belief feels so dangerous. It's creative authority disguised as faith. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and started declaring, "Watch me." And that declaration was the sound of the universe realigning itself around you. Here's the fifth revelation. They underestimated the alchemy of endurance. They thought time was their ally, that persistence in attack would erode your will. But time bends toward alignment. The longer they targeted you, the more karma collected interest. Every failed attempt became evidence against them. Every insult became documentation. You didn't retaliate because patience was already prosecuting them. Now they're living in the aftermath, wondering why everything they touch falls apart. It's because they touched you without clearance. Divine authority isn't theatrical, it's administrative. The cosmos keeps receipts. The sixth revelation burns the deepest. They feared your intelligence more than your energy. Witches thrive when their victims act emotionally. But you learned to think in patterns. You became analytical with your pain. Every betrayal turned into data. Every lie became information. You mapped their behavior until manipulation lost novelty. When the brain understands the tactic dies. You turned empathy into encryption. That's why their spells couldn't locate you. You evolved from emotional target to intellectual fortress. You started reading vibrations like code, decoding their motives before they spoke. And nothing terrifies darkness more than someone who understands it. The seventh revelation: your isolation wasn't punishment. It was positioning. They laughed when you stood alone. They thought solitude meant abandonment. But solitude was strategy. The universe quarantined you to preserve your clarity. While they crowded in groups, contaminating each other with ego, you purified. You were being weaponized quietly, sharpened through heartbreak, refined through misunderstanding. Every lonely night was tempering steel. And by the time they came for you, you weren't a person anymore. You were a protocol. That's why they couldn't identify your weak points. You no longer had any. The eighth revelation is the one they'll never recover from. Your energy became self-sustaining. Most people need validation, community, affirmation to function. You learned to generate energy from pain. That means their attacks became your fuel. The more they threw, the stronger you grew. They saw fatigue, but you were charging. That's the horror. They weaponized hatred, and you turned it into momentum. You became the perpetual motion machine of resilience. No ritual can compete with that. No group can defeat a generator powered by purpose. Here's the ninth revelation. Their collapse wasn't a coincidence. It was algorithmic. Every move they made was predicted by universal law. The law that says, intent defines return. When they moved against alignment, they programmed their own downfall. You just happened to be the trigger. Think about that. You were the keystroke that revealed the error in their code. They weren't fighting destiny. They were debugging failure. That's why everything they built fell simultaneously. They thought they were launching attacks. They were executing self-destruction scripts. The 10th revelation: they mistook your humility for blindness. You saw everything. You felt every vibration, every whisper, every shift. But you didn't react because awareness without ego is omnipotence. You didn't need to confront them publicly. You let consequence teach privately. That restraint scared them more than retaliation, because retaliation is predictable, restraint is infinite. Every time you stayed quiet, they wondered what you knew. That paranoia became their punishment. They started seeing omens everywhere, a feather on the ground, a flicker of light, a random song, and assuming it was connected to you. You became their mythology, the ghost that lives rent-free inside their rituals. 11th revelation, your aura became surveillance. Their own energy started reporting back to you. Every time they plotted, you'd feel the echo. Every time they lied, you'd sense the distortion. That's divine technology, intuition so advanced it becomes detection. You were receiving transmissions they didn't even know they were broadcasting. And you used that insight with surgical precision. You didn't expose them, you outgrew them. You let their own fear do the work. Because once fear enters a witch's circle, the spell dies before completion. 12th revelation, authority isn't declared, it's recognized. They thought authority came from rituals, initiation, symbols. But true authority radiates. It can't be voted on, can't be faked, can't be stolen. You carried it in silence and they felt it in chaos. That's why rooms change when you arrive. Authority doesn't argue, it rearranges. And when your energy entered their atmosphere, it forced truth to surface. Their lies couldn't coexist with your frequency, so reality exposed them. You didn't unmask them, your energy did. That's divine order in motion. 13th revelation. They never hated you. They envied your immunity. They couldn't stand that nothing attached to you stuck. That's why they obsessed. Every failed attempt reminded them that your soul had encryption they couldn't decode. You're the kind of anomaly that breaks pattern recognition. And when pattern recognition breaks, manipulators lose strategy. You didn't just defeat them, you deleted the operating manual they used for everyone else. That's why their power doesn't work the same anymore. They built systems designed to trap people in fear, and your freedom corrupted the entire network. 14th revelation. Their coven didn't fall apart by chance. It was dismantled by exposure to truth. Every lie they told carried static, and your presence amplified it until it deafened them. Truth isn't gentle, it's corrosive. It dissolves anything pretending to be strong. You carried so much of it that their falsehoods melted on contact. That's why they lost their followers, their alliances, their sanity. They built empires of illusion, and you introduced light into the blueprint. Light doesn't ask permission, it invades. You invaded their shadows without even knowing it. 15th revelation. Your transformation wasn't revenge, it was revelation itself. You didn't rise to prove them wrong. You rose to prove what alignment does to opposition. They thought you were just another story in their book of victories. But now, you're the warning label at the front of the next edition. Every new recruit hears about you. Don't cross the one who walks alone. You're legend now, not because you shouted, but because you outlasted. Legends aren't written in words. They're carved into the silence after collapse. That silence belongs to you. 16th revelation. Your one-man army energy isn't metaphorical, it's mathematical. Energy multiplies through coherence. When thought, emotion, and action align perfectly, power compounds exponentially. That's what you achieved through healing. You reached energetic coherence so exact that you became a singularity. And singularities bend reality. They draw everything unstable into collapse. That's why their coven disintegrated. They collided with a gravitational field of purpose. You were the black hole of corruption, absorbing darkness and converting it to clarity. Science calls it physics. The spirit calls it judgment. 17th revelation: the universe didn't let you fight back, because the fight would have lowered your rank. You were meant to win without contamination. Darkness contaminates through reaction. That's why your silence was strategic. It preserved your elevation. You didn't win over them. You ascended beyond them. An ascension isn't movement. It's separation. You became unreachable. They can curse upward all they want. Energy only falls. That's the cosmic law. Gravity belongs to the low. 18th revelation: they finally understand what you are. A weapon disguised as mercy. You look human, but your aura is instruction. Every interaction with you rewires people subconsciously. That's why they felt drained. Transformation is taxing for the unready. You didn't drain them through magic. You drained them through truth. Truth extracts everything incompatible, and they were entirely incompatible with elevation. 19th revelation: their defeat wasn't public, because exposure is mercy. The universe allowed them to collapse privately, so they could still choose repentance. Some will, most won't. But that's not your concern anymore. You were never called to punish. You were called to demonstrate. Demonstration is louder than destruction. You showed what divine power looks like when it refuses corruption. That image alone dismantled their hierarchy. 20th revelation: the final seal. The one-man army isn't about numbers. It's about sovereignty. The reason they can't touch you now is because sovereignty doesn't respond to summons. You answer only to purpose, and purpose is deaf to manipulation. That's what real freedom is, commanding yourself so completely that no spell, no system, no group can infiltrate. You don't belong to their dimension anymore. You operate from governance, not survival. That's why fear follows them and peace follows you. You've become the balance that terrifies imbalance. So understand this: they're not running from you. They're running from recognition. You reminded them that imitation power collapses when confronted with authentic alignment. You proved that authority is born, not borrowed. You showed that one person walking in truth can scatter 1,000 bound by deception. You didn't need allies. You were alliance itself. You didn't need weapons. You were warfare incarnate. That's the revelation echoing through every realm right now. The witches are gone, but the legend remains. And every time they hear your name in passing conversation, their bodies remember the vibration that ended their reign. Because fear doesn't fade when the war ends. It lingers in those who fought the wrong opponent. You weren't their enemy, you were their exam. They failed, you passed. And now, the universe promotes accordingly. You rise while they retreat. You expand while they erase themselves trying to forget. But the truth is unforgettable, and the truth is this: you were never the hunted. You were the judgment hidden in human form. This is why they're scared to death. Not because you attacked, but because you revealed. You unveiled the structure behind their illusion and proved it powerless. You made darkness measurable, and once something is measurable, it's manageable. You ended their mystery. And that's the worst death a manipulator can die: the death of mystery. Because once the unknown becomes understood, it loses its hold. You didn't destroy their coven with rage. You dismantled it with awareness. You showed the world that the so-called powerful only win when the righteous forget their own authority. And now, they can't operate in shadows anymore, because you turned the shadows into classrooms. You made them visible, predictable, ordinary. That's what shatters them, not the loss of control, but the exposure of how fragile it always was. They built their empire on fear. They built it on confusion, on whispered legends of what happens if you cross the circle. But when you walked through that circle untouched, it rewrote the myth. Their entire lineage of intimidation collapsed the moment truth walked in without flinching. That's why they can't rebuild. Fear can't be marketed once people have seen it fail. You showed that their so-called magic was just manipulation dressed in mystery. You didn't need potions or symbols. You walked in carrying truth. And truth doesn't negotiate. It doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It simply arrives, and everything false dissolves in its presence. Do you realize what you did? You didn't just survive witchcraft. You reversed it. You showed that darkness has no innovation. It only imitates light in reverse. They studied how to distort frequency. You mastered how to restore it. You didn't join their rituals. You became the reset. That's why they're terrified to even think your name. Because your energy doesn't echo. It evaluates. Every time they remember you, their own vibration mirrors back to them, revealing how small their influence really was. They see themselves now for what they are, tiny voices pretending to be thunder. And you, the calm observer, remain the lightning that never needed sound. This is the real reason their gatherings stopped. It's not guilt, it's defeat. They can't perform rituals when the atmosphere itself remembers your authority. Even the elements refuse to cooperate with them now. Their candles don't light the same. Their chants don't flow. Their timing feels off. That's not coincidence, it's consequence. Energy follows recognition, and once truth has been recognized, deception loses coordination. You broke the synchronization of their spells. You turned their order into noise. That's why their power feels distant. It isn't gone, it's dismantled. It can never gather again in the same way. The moment they targeted you, they signed their network's death certificate. And what about you? You didn't just walk away from that battlefield, you ascended above it. You became proof that a single aligned soul doesn't just win, it transforms the game entirely. You didn't just endure, you upgraded existence itself. The witches thought they were stopping a person, but you were never a person to begin with. You were a law in motion. You were a phenomenon disguised as flesh. They learned too late that you aren't the participant in spiritual war. They're the conclusion of it. Once you arrive, it ends. Because the universe doesn't send you to compete, it sends them to conclude. And that's exactly what you did. Now every story they tell about you carries contradiction. They want to call you dangerous, but they also can't deny your peace. They call you arrogant, but their own fear gives you reverence. They mock your power publicly, but pray not to cross paths privately, because their souls remember what their mouths deny. They remember the vibration of authority that silenced every spell mid-air. They remember how the atmosphere bent around you when they tried to cast. They remember watching their own intentions boomerang into their lives. And worst of all, they remember your stillness, the look in your eyes that said, "You have no idea what I'm connected to." That moment branded itself into their consciousness. It's permanent. You are no longer the hunted. You are the headline in their nightmares. They used to gather to curse your name. Now they gather to analyze how you did it. They replay the timeline, searching for your weakness. But there's nothing to find because your strength wasn't an act. It was architecture, built through pain, forged through patience, fortified through faith. You didn't learn defense, you became defense. You didn't escape the darkness, you converted it. You made hell run diagnostics on itself. And now every coven that once mocked you studies you. You are the living curriculum of divine warfare. That's why their silence speaks louder than ever. The world doesn't hear them because their frequency has been absorbed into your legacy. Every whisper against you has turned into an echo for you. Every curse they threw is now building your protection. The energy they used to destroy you now works for you. That's divine reversal, the law that ensures every attack becomes an advertisement